What's going on, family? Welcome to the Garden of Consciousness. It's your guy, Boro, the Lucky Libra, and we have Novi, the spiritual therapist, all right? And you guys just logged on to how to read a natal chart, all right? So in this series, me and Novi are going to break down, components to the fundamentals of what you guys need to understand before we start moving on to anything advanced in astrology, all right, guys? So we're going to start off with the houses, planets, and the signs, because those are the three most fundamental things, all right? Novi?
Absolutely. I'm going to definitely put a birth chart example on the screen so you guys can follow along, as well as a downloadable version. So you guys can also have that on the side if that's more convenient for you guys. Okay. And if you need something bigger. So the birth chart, let's just tell them what the birth chart is. Quite
Right.
simply, guys.
Right.
Is the energy that was in the sky, where all the planets were, the ones that we work with down here on Earth, because honestly, guys, there's so many planets, there's so many asteroids. But where we are right now in society, these are the energies that we're working with. And essentially, so you're coming out your mother's womb, and you take that first breath, and then you cry. You're like, I'm here, which is that Aries energy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So all that, you're like a superhero. So those were all your superpowers that you inhaled into yourself when you got here.
Right. Right.
What's your version of that?
Yeah. So just like Novi's saying, like that state of being when you're making your creation stamp here. All right. The natal chart is a snapshot of that moment, a snapshot of that frequency vibration that you were in when you came into the solar system, all right? There's all different type of galaxies and solar systems besides the one that we're currently in at the moment, all right? However, there's certain tools and energies and frequency vibrations that are in this solar system. They were at certain positions, stars and planets were at certain places, and these created certain frequency vibrations. So the second you were born, these energies that were currently in the air are the energies that are attached to your personal life path, your personality, and all different other departments in your life. AKA, this is like your astrological navigational map, your life navigational map in reality. Life would be way better if we had, if we were able to get our natal charts instead of our birth certificates at birth. All right. And we're going to be able to break down what we're able to understand about our lives and also the collective consciousness just by looking at our natal chart.
Absolutely. There's a lot of themes in the natal chart. There's 12 major energies, and we're going to break that down for you guys as we go along. But that's why you find a lot of people with similarities like you. And that's why you can listen to a song or watch a movie and you can connect with somebody that you don't even know, because we all have gone through these areas in life, or we will go through these areas in life. And additionally, right, your birth chart, you also have the birth chart of your business. You know what I'm saying? Literally anything you birth, even your website, the day that you wrote down the idea of your book, you can really see how the energies, which we say in astrology, as above, so below. So whatever happens in the sky is mirroring its way back down here. That's why they say things like on the full moon, there's a lot more activity happening in hospitals. There's a lot more accidents, things like that, because the full moon actually is about releasing energy. Right. So there's a lot of chaos usually happening around that time. So as you guys learn astrology and you learn this language, because guys, it's just a language. It's only something you're just not used to, but trust me, here at the Garden of Consciousness, you're going to be.
As long as you guys get the fundamentals, you shooting for the stars after that. You just got to make sure y'all get these key concepts.
Boom. And then that's why we're going to teach you here. And now this video is going to be broken up into a few different parts because it is very in-depth and complex, but this is part one. So the normal outline of the natal chart, which you guys will see here, it's basically a circle. And the circle has, I like to call it a pizza pie. It has 12 slices, and each of those slices represents an area of your life or the theme of your life. And the outside of that is the crust. And the crust holds the energy of how you treat that area of your life. So as we go on and you guys understand what we're talking about when it comes to the elements, which the 4 elements that we're dealing with to create spirit human is fire, water, air, and earth, those are the things that make up man or woman. Okay, so that kind of
Right.
thing. And when we're talking about this kind of energy, you're going to be able to see this in your chart, in your child's chart, you know. And this, guys, is just a tool to help navigate you, not to predict your life.
Right.
You have free will, okay? 100% free will. You decide what you do. But these are essentially the tools that you were given to come down here on this earth. So, you know, Boro might have some nunchucks and I might have a knife set, you know what I'm saying? But he needs to know how to use his nunchucks and I need to know how to use my knife set. So it's really about that individual way of using your energy. And we're going to teach you guys the low vibrational side, the high vibrational side. So you actually know what
Right.
you're doing in your life. You know what I'm saying? What your energy is. Because honestly, it's all about your energy and then what you're attracting back into you. And that's why your natal chart is really important, because you might be, you know, in a Venusian year, a Venus year, where there's a lot of opportunities coming around you, but maybe you're making, quote unquote, not the right decisions for you. That's because maybe you're a little bit out of alignment. And this birth chart, when we tell you guys about it, and we have to give you guys a lot of information beforehand because there's a lot of layers to this. People could, you know, with much power comes much responsibility, y'all. And we don't take this lightly.
Gem.
Okay, we don't take this lightly because people will try to pinky in the brain this situation. That's not what universe God wants you to do. It's just a tool, just like this internet, you know what I'm saying? But then you won't have to deal with a lot of the stuff you've dealt with before. You won't have to guess anymore. So with that being said, in that natal chart now that you guys see on the east side, and I think if you're looking at it, it should be on your left side. It'll say your ascendant, ASC, AKA your rising sign, which is
the energy that is related to your first house. All right. So whatever zodiac sign constellation you have in your first house would be your rising sign, aka your ascendant or your ascendant, because this is the sign that was rising on the eastern horizon. So this is why we use the term ascendant rising. All right. And let's say you have Pisces in this first house. This means a lot of the things that you attach yourself to when you're starting something is dealing with water, because you have a water sign in your first house. So just based off the element could show you a lot of how you start handle things on a personal level. Okay, how you start things, the aura that's attached to you, as far as when people meet you in first impression. All right. So it's very important to understand what sign you have in that first house, because this is your personality. This is how you like to handle your personal issues. Okay.
Absolutely.
No.
Yeah, and when you look at that natal chart and you see each one, which I'm going to be attaching a PDF for you guys so you guys can see which each life area represent. And honestly, when we have our workshop and our courses, we're going to go way more in depth about what each of these houses mean. But you can really tell what type of person you are. So for instance, for me, I have a lot of energy in my fifth house. And as you guys will learn, that's the Leo house, and that's the house of the sun, and that's the house of creativity. So I'm essentially a very creative person, you know, and so a lot of my energy, and specifically my sun is there. That's where I should be putting a lot of my focus, my willpower, and my life force into that area. So now when you look at the birth chart and you see all of these 12 slices, we're going to go through 1 through 6, which is your bottom hemisphere. And then we're going to go through 7 through 12, which is your top hemisphere. And we're going to tell you what each of these areas kind of represent. Boro, do you want to do the 1 through 6?
All right, let's get into it. So when we're talking about the 1 through 6 signs, houses, these areas, first of all houses represent areas of life. All right, so let's make sure we understand that. So whenever we're talking about house, whenever you hear that term in astrology, all that means is an area of life. So that's why if you guys were to get a reading from me, Novi, anybody else, they're going to be able to see where certain things are going on depending on what house is in. All right. So this is how we're able to indicate this. Now, when we're talking about the 1st through 6 houses, okay, all of these houses relate to your personal energies, to the intrapersonal part of you. And when we get into the 7 to 12, we're dealing with the external realm and how you relate to the external realm. So the first house, you know, just like the example we made with Pisces rising, all right, when Novi was talking about the ascendant sign, the first house is dealing with your personality. all right? How you take care of personal issues and insecurities in your life, all right? How you deal with people, places, and things that relate to you on a personal level, all right? And an emphasis on the things that you're just personally into, an emphasis on how you like to start things, especially based off the element, and also an emphasis on how people view you and the energy they pick up off you off first impression. But depending on your sun and moon is how you actually take your actions and reactions. Now, when we talk about the second house, and by the way, the first house is a cardinal fire house. This is the house that gave birth to Aries. The second house, this is a fixed earth house. This is the house that gave birth to Taurus. And when we're talking about the second house, we're talking about our values, okay? We're looking at what we value and what value we have to offer to the world, all right? And that correlates directly to our self-esteem, okay? So in this house, this is where we plant seeds for our self-esteem that we would like to build, to create stability in our lifetime, all right? And we're dealing with physical resources as well. When we get into the third house is a mutable air house. This is the house that gave birth to Gemini. And when we're talking about air houses, we're dealing with communication and relationships, all right? Your social life. So the third house is dealing with your familiar surroundings, aka the neighborhood you grew up in, all right? The neighborhood you live in now, your local environment, the people, places, and things in your neighborhood, and an emphasis on your siblings and the familiar traits you picked up from the people, places, and things in your local environment, neighborhood. The people, places, and things that are immediate to you, all right? Now we talk about the fourth house. The fourth house is a cardinal water house. This is the house that gave birth to Cancer. When we're talking about the water houses, we're talking about the subconscious feelings and emotions, all right? The fourth house is dealing with how we create emotional stability in this lifetime. The fourth house is dealing with the home, domestic issues, family matters, and privacy. Emphasis on privacy, all right? The sixth house is a mutable earth house. It's the house that gave fifth house. You see, this is why I need, y'all see this, guys? This is why I need Novi here, all right? The fifth house, this is the house that gave birth to Leo. This is a fixed fire house, all right, guys?
Babies, they gonna get mad if you forget their house.
No. Novi was gonna make sure I didn't forget that fifth house.
That's my house, okay?
That's all her energy right there, all right? She can tell you about the fifth house. So when we talk about the fifth house, this is the house that gave birth to Leo, all right? It's a fixed fire house, all right? Whenever we're talking about firehouse, we're talking about expression. But this house has a huge emphasis on creative expression, artistic expression, all right? So we're talking about musicians, actors, emphasis on how you like to set the stage in order for you to demonstrate your talents and your creative expression to the world, all right? Also has an emphasis on children and creation, period, all right? Because children do come out of a creation process, all right? Now, when we get into the sixth house, all right, mutable earth, this is the house that gave birth to Virgo, all right? And in this house, we're dealing with learning how to put the seed that we planted in that second house for our values, all right? We're learning how to put that seed in the day-to-day routine. We're learning how to water that seed. We're learning how to schedule it. We're learning how to see the details of it. And there's also an emphasis on health and fitness in this house because whenever we put something to work, we're gonna experience the opposite spectrum, which is fatigue, all right? So this house has a huge emphasis on health, fitness, okay? And taking it to the seventh house, Novi, you got us.
Yes. So the seventh house is a Libra house. All right.
Mm-hmm.
It is also cardinal. Why did I just forget? Oh my gosh, cardinal.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't think we told you guys what the elements mean, but if you look in the PDF, we also wrote it in there. But quickly, the elements are cardinal, starting things, fixed, maintaining things, mutable, ending things, or beginning things. And if you guys think about it, it actually goes, and we'll actually have another video telling you the story about the constellations, about the Zodiac, and actually giving you kind of the fable of how all of this works together, how all these energies work together, okay? Because once you see the fable and the themes, you'll understand how it correlates and manifests into these certain energies, how it manifests into certain people, specifically, if you meet their sun sign, their moon sign, or how it manifests throughout your life, or how you approach those certain areas. So sometimes you can initiate going to get that bag, but you might not follow through. And this is why it's really important for you to understand what kind of energy you have sitting on that specific house. Okay.
Exactly.
Everyone doesn't look at money the same. They don't look at their own personal being or health the same, or creativity the same. So this is why you might, if you have a water sign sitting on your fifth house, you're very emotional when it comes to your creativity. And that it might not be most comfortable for you to maybe be with a fire sign, because They might put your creativity out. They might not care about your emotions. They just want to get things done. So this is why this can be like, you know, CEOs or artists not working out, or certain productions or something at work not working out. It's everything, guys. Just like how we talk about any type of vibe. Yo, when I walk in there, that's a vibe. When I walk in there, that's not a vibe. It's the same exact thing. All right. So when we go into the 7th house, now you're starting to get awareness of what your energies are and how they're going to work and correlate with people outside of yourself and with the general public. That's why the 7th house is represented by Libra, a cardinal sign, and an air sign. So that house is about how I relate to other people. Now that I've gotten all my skills from 1 through 6, how am I going to take those things that I've learned and now use them in society? So this is why Libra's here on that 7th house, okay? So this is your relationship house. Very, very hot house, okay? A lot of people want to know about that.
Deep. The 7th house go deep, Novi. That's
very deep.
That 7th house go deep, y'all.
It's so deep. And we're going to do a bunch of talks on how to break down each house, but essentially it's about your relationships, how you relate to other people, and potentially your marriage and contracts. So this is very important when we're talking about negotiating and business deals and things like that, okay? The 8th house is a Scorpio house. All right, let us know down here what your sign is, okay? I didn't even say
Scorps.
Okay, we didn't even say put your sign down there so we know who we do. But this is a Scorpio house, so it's a fixed water house. And this is the house, I would like to say, of intimacy, you know, transformation, vulnerability, because through those things, you're going to be transformed. It's also the house of sex, death, rebirth, okay, and other people's money. Then you have the 9th house, which is Sagittarius, fire, mutable, okay? Hey, Sag. We know y'all love to explore. This is the house of wisdom.
Explore is the word.
Explore is the word, right? It's the house of exploring and philosophies and religion and faith and higher learning. Then you have the 10th house. Now, this is your midheaven. And Boro was talking about your private house before, which is your 4th house. That's how you want your home to be. You know what I'm saying? That's how you want the vibe of your home to be. Bringing in some elements and some herbals and things like that that go to that house and what that energy is will help you feel peaceful at home. You know, really knowing the type of home that you need privately. But now we in the 10th house, we talk about who you want people to know you to be, okay? This is your status, how you get power in the world, your public image, okay? And this is also known as your midheaven. Such important energy, because it doesn't even matter who you think you are, your moon sign, okay? Or who you want yourself to present to be, your sun sign. Who everybody else is gonna see you as is your 10th house, period. So if we're talking about, if you're a person who's in the public eye and maybe it's a little weird, or you're not tapping into your 10th house energy. You're not putting on that suit at that point. Okay. Now, after we've gone to the 10th house and we've gained some status, some power, some career things, we go into the 11th house of Aquarius. That's a air sign. And this is the house of humanitarianism and belonging to groups. How are we going to work together now? Community, okay? And it's about us coming together and sharing our resources. But, you know, if it has some funky placements there, you might be stingy with your resources. So this is why it's really vital for you guys to know this. And then finally, we have our beautiful 12th house, the babies that always get left at the end, my Pisces baby.
I love the 12th house. I love the 12th house.
12th house. And this is the reason why Pisces is the last house. It's a water house. It's mutable. But it's the combination of all of the 12 houses in that last house. So this represents hidden secrets, isolation, your fears, your hopes and your dreams, you know, also where things get lost, all right, the nebulous things of the world that we really can't touch on, all right? So that's why Pisces energies, and I know y'all probably looking at your phone like, my Pisces friend, now that makes sense, because they are essentially, it's the house of undoing. After you've been an individual, now you have to dissolve back, because at the end of all of this, guys, we die and then we transcend into something else. So that's why that Pisces energy is really important. So do you want to talk about the accesses maybe?
All right, right. So when we talk about the 1st and the 7th house access, well, we could also consider that to be the Aries and Libra axis, all right? So you have
Can you
cardinal.
know what access means? Because I remember every time I watch these videos, I'm like, no one said what access means.
So whenever we're talking about access, this is basically like the frequency vibration angle that two signs would be sitting at the end of. So Aries is at one end, Libra's at the other end. They're opposite signs, but they still have a frequency vibration that's keeping them connected. So even if you're an Aries from time to time, you jump into some Libra energy. Even if you're a Libra from time to time, you jump into some Aries energy. Whether you do it consciously or subconsciously is another thing we're going to talk about down the line with me and Novi. But you guys just need to keep in mind that you are connected in a frequency, vibration, shape, or form, all right? So when we talk...
Opposites attract, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And even if you're Aries that feel like you don't attract Libras, you are attracting people with the mentality of Libras. You are attracting people with the frequency vibration of Libras. You are attracting people that communicate with the psyche of a Libra, all right? So it's not even that specific to the sign, but it may well be playing out as that sometimes and a lot of the times, all right?
Yep.
So,
and as you guys get to learn, you're going to see that we are all jumping into different energies when we're in different spaces. So the person you're meeting, yeah, okay, they might be a Scorpio sun sign, but you might be meeting my Cancer rising right now, honestly, because it depends on what situation I'm in. As you guys know, we're all different when it comes to our home life, 4th house, private, our 10th house, public, at work. You know what I'm saying? Our 7th house, well, how we relate to our friends. We all have these different faces and facades and costumes and people that we jump into. But now you're going to do it knowingly.
Right.
When you have this birth chart.
Right. So, so when we talk about the Aries Libra axis, okay, Aries is cardinal fire ruled by Mars. Libra is cardinal air ruled by Venus. Okay, so you have Aries, which is always trying to create a new way how to see and feel about things, all right? Trying to find a new inspiration, trying to be the leader or something, the pioneer, trying to lead by example, not really into following at all. Aries that feel like they have to be taught something or be followed, sometimes that can make them, well, a lot of the times this makes them feel vulnerable, all right? This is the first sign. They have a lot of leader-like psyches to the things that they attach themselves to, all right? And then you have a Libra that's also cardinal air. So all cardinal signs deal with leader-like, pioneer-like energy. But the way Libra likes to lead is more so through dealing with ways of logic communication. They like to start the debate of a conversation. They like to create the new idea for somebody else to think about, all right? And then depending on, like, if it was a Gemini, they'll be more so interested in the exchange because it's mutable, but a Libra just wants to make sure that they're able to have the ability to make you think about something and have you think upon a thought that they made you think and influence, all right? So, but there's also an emphasis on one-on-one relationships with Libras, all right? And relating to others because they're ruled by Venus, which deals with value and compromise and appreciation and beauty and love, all right? So you got one sign over here, Aries, that's head first, passionate, all right, about their self-intentions and their personal issues. And then you have the opposite sign that feels like they need to be relatable, feels like they need to make things fair and find balance and value and appreciate the input of somebody else. All right. So right here, you can always,
important because this is you and them. This is right. This is how life works, right? This is me and them, me and them. So the reason why we're talking about these 4 accesses, I think that would be the plural word, is because these are the pillars and foundation of how you interact with people, places, and things. Like, these are the ways that you're going to start interacting with these people. So knowing these 4 pillars, what my energy is, what I usually attract, whether low vibrational or high vibrational, same for you. You know, how I am in my private life, which is definitely a foundation for how you're going to be in your public life. So all these 4 axes, that's why all of these are really, really important. You're going to see on the internet, anywhere else, a lot of people paying attention to rising sign, midheaven, 7th house things, and 4th house things. Because the 4th house for me personally is very important. And as we dive in deeper on this Patreon, we're definitely going to get into family dynamics and all that. Because for me, the 4th house, Like, I don't know. I feel like people don't talk about the fourth house enough.
Oh no, the fourth house, no joke. The fourth house is you need to make sure you know about the fourth house. You got to have your home space right. You got to have the heart space right. And you see, Novi.
And I'm a Cancer rising. That's why.
Exactly, y'all. Novi gonna make sure y'all tap into making sure you know how to create emotional stability here. She a Cancer, so she got to teach y'all that.
And guys, and when we say these things, you're gonna hear us say, "Oh, she's this, she's that." Everything is not pertaining to the sun sign, and that's why astrology is so cool. I was the same way. I thought it was just sun sign stuff, and that's why it just never hit right. But no, like it's so many other energies going on in your chart, right? But you know, I have a tendency to ramble. So back to the first and the seventh.
Right. So this is the energy that we're dealing with when we're talking about Aries and Libra. We got somebody that's mostly dealing with their personal issues, somebody more so feeling like they have to be relatable. And this is what they could learn from each other, right? Libra teaches Aries, nah, man, you got to learn how to be more relatable in the world. It's cool to have your self-identity, but you got to be more relatable. And Aries going to teach Libra like, yeah, I see what you're talking about with the whole relatable thing. I'm going to try it out. But you're going to have to worry about your self-identity. You're going to have to learn how to do some things on your own. Some blueprints you come up with, you got to be able to walk stage 1 and stage 2 by yourself before you go ahead and relate it to somebody instead of just thinking about it and feeling like you have to relate it to somebody first, all right? You got to take more initiative on life on a personal level. So this is what they teach each other, right? Then we move into the second house, 8th house axis, which the second house gave birth to Taurus, 8th house gave birth to Scorpio. So we're dealing with the Taurus-Scorpio opposite, all right? So I'll let Novi go ahead and elaborate on that.
Oh, yeah, I guess, I do have a lot of energy. Mm-hmm. That's because Taurus, basically, very simply stated, Taurus is about self-worth and Scorpio is about self-worth in relation to other people. And Taurus is about physical self-worth. Honestly, it's like your body, okay? This is why Taurus people are known as sensual beings. They love smells and they love food and stuff like this, because this is after you come out the Aries house. You get into the second house and you start to learn to use your body now. This is how you learn to walk and all that other stuff. So it's yourself versus myself and other people. So that's essentially what that house is about. And I don't know if I mentioned it earlier. I don't think I did, but the 8th house is also known as the crisis house. You know, and crisis happens when you're joining two energies together. You know, what are you going to learn out of that? So that's why Taurus is about, how do I value myself? What do I own? Ownership, you know, and my money, things, my possessions, you know, and 8th house is, what do I own with them? What am I building with them? It's an intimacy thing with them. What are we owning together? What is our partnership like together? How do we come out of crisis together? So it's just like that's why Scorpio gets a bad rep, but we'll tell you about that later, because we got a lot of Scorpio energy between us. But that's right. What the taxes are, and in a second you guys will see why this is very important. So,
all right. So are we moving on to the next one or elaborating? All right. So moving on to the next opposite axis, we're talking about the 3rd house and the 9th house. All right. And when we're talking about the 3rd and 9th house, these are the houses that gave birth to Gemini and Sagittarius. All right. So it's like you got Gemini, which is mutable air, ruled by Mercury, dealing with the intellect, but on a more critically analyzing and observing level. All right. Trying to break down the details of things and trying to build information through conversation and communication. All right. Geminis love to try to break somebody down and try to see what somebody's past 9 weeks was like just based off the last 5 sentences they just gave you. This is how they try to pick up on things from you by how you talk, the words you choose. And trust me, they'll you'll be surprised by the investigation they'll do by just a couple verbs you give them. All right.
Oh
so
God.
when you talk about Sagittarius, the opposite, this is mutable fire. All right, ruled by Jupiter. So this is being able to be mutable and adaptable towards how other people like to see and feel about things. So, and this is why Sagittarius this can make them, you know, probably the most connective out of all of the fire signs, because it's mutable fire. So it's like fire likes to detach, y'all. So it's there and it could be there and it could go. All right. So, you know, Sagittarius is like the fire that wants to spread the heat for everybody, wants to spread the wisdom, wants to spread the warmth, wants to have the exchange of the experiences and the wisdoms, and wants to travel and explore like Novi hinted on earlier. All right. So when you have Gemini that's dealing with learning, more so in a technical, critical analyzation type of way, but then you got Sagittarius, which is into learning, but more so in a faith-based intuition, broad perspective type of way. You can see where we got a little clash, but I always like to emphasize how this is actually a smoother, more opposition, because they're actually both still dealing with learning, just in two different ways.
And I feel like Gemini is, you know, just gathering facts, and Sagittarius is now, I've stretched the facts into wisdom. That's what it is. Because wisdom is that's where you build your ethics and your morals and your integrity, you know, and everybody's is different. So this ninth house energy is really important. Without Gemini, okay, we wouldn't be able to get to the ninth house.
Right. We need to be able to go through experiences in our familiar surroundings to even be able to reflect on the experiences we've been through.
Absolutely. So everybody gets love here. Look, we're going to drag everybody's going to get dragged here, and everybody's going to get loved here, okay?
You got to hear about it. It's because we love y'all.
We love y'all. That 4th and 10th access.
Oh, this is one of me and Novi's favorites, all right? Because we're dealing with Cancer. We're dealing with the 4th and 10th house, which is 4th house gave birth to Cancer, which is cardinal water, ruled by the moon. Then we have the 10th house, which is a cardinal earth house, which gave birth to Capricorn, ruled by Saturn. All right. So in one spectrum of the axis, we're dealing with creating emotional stability, the home, family matters. All right. Caring for others in the home environment. All right. Seeing how to develop emotional stability through how we relate to privacy and solitude, and seeing how all of this feel and what we could do in here to make our day better. All right. Now on the opposite axis, we ain't talking about feelings and emotions. We're talking about practicality. Stability in a more physical resource, career-based, work-orientated type of way, all right? We're talking about, you know, creating a blueprint for how to be practical and seeing what we could build on the Capricorn axis. So in one spot, we have nurture. In another spot, we have cold, dry, practical, all right? In one spot, we have the subconscious, emotional connection, creating emotional stability. The other side of the axis, we have practicality, seeing what makes sense, seeing reality, all right? So I'll let Novi go ahead and throw her 2 cents on that one.
Yeah, and I just feel like it's definitely about your emotional life. And I just feel like the 10th house to me is the legacy home. You know, it's like the legacy.
Novi, not to cut you off, I just haven't heard no other astrology really stamp that legacy-like theme or word. I don't know, like, other astrologers have used words that are synonyms to legacy, but the fact that I ain't really hear nobody use that word, legacy is such a perfect word for the Capricorn theme.
That's what Capricorn is what is your legacy in the world? Period. You know, that's really what it is. And your 4th house, if it's not strong, let me tell y'all, that legacy won't be strong. And that's why your 4th house is very, very important. You know what I'm saying? Doing healing work there, doing healing work on your moon and intimacy, and we'll teach you that, guys, down the road and everything like that. But yeah, it's basically your legacy. Then we have the 5th and the 11th house axis.
Right. So when we talk about the 5th and 11th house axis, this is the fixed fire house that gave birth to Leo. All right. On one spectrum, we have creative expression. We have light, being seen, pushing your light out to the world. All right. Demonstrating your talents and your creative expressions to be seen. Setting up the stage, all right? It ain't necessarily setting up the stage, but you making the commands to let everybody know how them curtains need to be and how the mic need to be set so you can do your thing. You ain't setting it up. You don't want boogieing, all right? So this is the energy we're dealing with in the 5th house, all right? This energy we're dealing with Leo. We could even condense it down to just having fun, all right? If you go take your kids out to a picnic and you guys are, you know, having a bunch of fun food, I would say this is like 4th house, 5th house energy, all right? Home environment, having fun, all right? So, and on that opposite end, we have Aquarius, ruled by Saturn, fixed air. So this is more so, you know, about being practical on a logical level, right? You know, more so trying to see how to make sense of how they could be a role model or a humanitarian, like, role in the collective consciousness, all right? How they could demonstrate ways of being an individual, all right? Aquariuses are here to teach us how to be an individual. But the thing is, they're ruled by Saturn, and Saturn doesn't reflect light. All right. Saturn is like the old strict grandfather that wants to make sure you do things accordingly from point A to point B. All right. Make sure your collar is ironed and all of that. The cufflinks, get all that together. All right. With Saturn. So we can see the little clash here. In one place, we into creative artistic expression. We want to have fun. We upbeat. On the other side, we have practicality, cold, dry, do things accordingly, discipline, all right, restrictions, limitations, boundaries. So this is the clash they have, but they have to learn from each other, all right? And every opposite sign have to learn from each other. So I'll let Novi go ahead.
I like your perspective. I have a different perspective on Aquarius. Don't worry, Aquarius, I got you. Because I got Mars.
I said Aquarius teach us to be individuals. Listen, I got a lot of Aquarius.
Listen, I'm going to argue with you right now. Listen. Okay, because I have both energies, so. First of all, I feel like Leo is your ego being recognized. Like, who I am as an individual, like me, this is about me. It's like that time when you wanted to go on stage and do that talent show. It's that time when you wanted to like sing in front of your family at the cookout. It's that time. That's exactly what it is. And trust me, guys, without the sun, we wouldn't be alive. Without the sun, nothing would grow. It wouldn't flourish.
That's life. Okay? Leos bring life.
It's life. It's literally life. That's why Leos are known to be super playful and they just want to have fun. Okay. Too much fun sometimes. Don't play. All right. And as we get in deeper, guys, you will start to see the themes of each sign. All right. But that's what this house is about. They're passionate. They're creative. And like Boro was saying earlier, your kids are your creation. So, you know, your biggest manifestation is your children. So remember that. We will talk about that as we keep going on. But essentially, that's what Leo is. Now, Aquarius is, all right, that's cool. You want to have fun. How can we have fun together? Like, that's what I think that energy is like. How can we have fun together? And honestly, Boro, I had read that that it takes someone a lot of self-love and a lot of devotion to want to create a revolution. And I was like, because Aquarius is the sign of revolutionary things, right? Not only Saturn is there, but Uranus is there, and Uranus causes chaos, okay? But without chaos and without destruction, without breaking the rules and being careful, right, Aquarius, baby? Without doing that, we wouldn't be able to get to the next phase of life. So it's like, you know, Leo wants to have all the fun, and Aquarius is like, that's cool. Fun is fun, whatever. How can we move ourselves forward now as a society? You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of what I feel like that energy is. And Aquarians are definitely individuals. And that's why I think it's so interesting, because Leo is the individual. Aquarius is the individual. But it's Leo is like, I want to be by myself. Fuck everybody. And your Aquarius is like, nah, son, you could be by yourself, but together. Like, what does your ego feed the humanity? Like, how can we utilize you, you know, correctly, instead of you just being on the stage having fun all the time? So that's what I feel about those two energies. And lastly, 6 and 12. I want to do that one. So 6 and 12. Is Virgo, okay? So remember we were talking about, because this is really, really important. Like right now we're in a time of wellness. You
need to let the spiritual therapist speak about this one.
Okay, we're in a place of wellness and like wanting to get our mental capabilities in a space, and we here are you know, faith over fear. This is what we do. This spirituality thing is not something you could just pick up and pick down. This is something you do every day, and you keep weaving that web, right? Because I always say, the higher that you are thrown in life, you need a bigger web to land on. So we're helping you a web of faith, okay? And when you understand your energies, you understand your map that you knew that you came down here for a reason, and this is why you're here. You're able to be what's going on at any time. You just have to tap into your energy. So when we talk about this, a lot of people who have a lot of planets here, and we'll talk about the planets in a moment, it's just really important to talk about the themes first, so you guys can see how it correlates to the planet. But a lot of people with a lot of planets here, specifically Moon, have a lot of depression and anxiety, and they just have a lot of issues, you know what I'm saying? And when we're talking about 6, 12th house, we're talking about like literally suicide, cutting yourself, drinking yourself to death, drugs. And this is why, honestly, this is so important. Like, if you just know this about yourself and you know you have these certain energies, you cannot participate in certain things in life. Just because you have everything here doesn't mean your energy is built for it. And you guys need to understand that about yourself, especially if you have a Virgo moon, a Pisces moon. You know what I'm saying? Energies in the 12th and the 6th house, you can start having addiction issues because the 6th house is a daily house. It's about the thing you do every day. You get up, you walk your dog every day, you make your coffee,
Right.
shower every day, you go to the gym. But now if you replace that with other things that are not helpful to get you to your overall purpose, then you're going to cause delays in your journey. Okay, this is why this 6th house, all right, even though it's a Virgo mutable house, mutable, that means it can change into whatever. That means it's actually very susceptible to whatever energy is going on, because it's brother and sister with Pisces over here. And remember, I said Pisces is anything it wants to be, whether that is good or bad. So wherever this axis is sitting in your chart, because this, whatever energies we're talking about, you're dealing with this somewhere in your life, whether it be in your career, with your friends, with your relationships, with your money, with yourself, with your communication, with your mother, with, you know what I'm saying? Like, it could be you're dealing with this. So when we're talking about Virgo, this is, it's the house of wellness every day. It's your routine house. I know it's not the shit that we want to necessarily do, or some of us take it way too seriously and we're OCD about it. So this is that house of, you have to do these things to get to your goals, because it's a practical house. You're here in reality. How can you be rooted in reality? And it's also the house of serving, right? It's like God's source gave you the opportunity to come down here. So what you going to do with it? Are you going to show up every day and you're going to do the work every day to actually keep going for your purpose? So that's that 6th house energy. And then when the 12th house, man, that's just the house of secrets. You know what I'm saying? You have something going on there, like your son in the 12th house, your dad probably wasn't around, or, you know, he was in jail. This is why you need to know these energies, because there's secrets there. And if your Mercury's in there, then listen, the way that you communicate is just lost in translation, right? So the 12th house now is dealing with, is a Pisces house. It's water, mutable again. It can be whatever it feels like being, and water can be ice, rain, sleet, snow, tornado, hurricane. Do you guys see what I'm trying to say? So it could be whatever it is, all right? Whatever clouds. And this is why Pisces is a very nebulous energy. It's very dreamy, okay? But this is where creativity and imagination thrive, though. That's why when you see Piscean people, they are so creative. They're on another world because they're literally in another world, literally.
Literally.
It's not figuratively. So this is why this energy is really, really important. I know about this because I have Virgo on the 4th and I have Pisces on the 10th. So this is, I've realized how much these energies really, really do matter. Let's talk about the planets real quick. And then after the planets, we're going to tell you a little bit more, just a little tips on how to read the birth chart. And that will be part 1.
All right. So, of course, I know we're going to start with the sun. All right. So whenever we're talking about the sun lights up. All right. The sun brings attention. There's not a lot of things you can count on happening every day, but when you wake up in the morning, that sun going to be out there. All right. It's going to be shining. Okay. So you can even see how this influences the Leo energy. All right. Leos, they have to shine. All right. That king-like lioness-like energy has to be seen. They understand that they have a part of them that the world needs to pay attention to, and they carry themselves like that in many different shapes and forms. Now, when we talk about the sun, so the sun is also how you look, all right? What you choose to pay attention to, all right? The sun, I like to say, it has to deal with your vitality in your body, all right? The sun has a lot to do with your natural actions, okay? We're going to get into the moon, but I always like to say the moon motivates the sun. The moon is who you truly are, but the sun shows you how it takes out the moon's actions, okay? How it wants to be seen, how it looks, okay? So that's how I like to correlate the sun, but a huge emphasis on the things that you pay attention to. So if you have the sun in Libra, You pay attention to your one-on-one relationships. You pay attention to logic and communication. You pay attention to balance in the environment, how you're relating to people on a one-on-one level.
How you identify. It's how you identify. I'm a Scorpio. Boro's a Libra. It's literally when you say, I am this. It's your ego. It's your consciousness. Your consciousness.
Yeah, the things you're consciously aware of.
Consciously aware.
And I'd like to add your wants.
Yes.
And it's your wants.
Your
wants. You know what your
these
needs
words are important. And we know you guys know this, but we have to keep saying this because it's
vital.
Layers. Okay, layers to this. And then after your son, we're going to go